What if you had access to a robot that does not only what you want it to, but protects you, whether it means life or death, in the future where everything is freaking messed up and crazy? That's Lazarus, and it's awesome. What is up? And you are watching Comic Relief here on Nerdy Blurb TV, where it's not a joke, we're just serious about comic books. This is a show where we review and recommend graphic novels and trade paperbacks for your convenience, but definitely for our pleasure. And today is Lazarus from Image Comics, and boy, is this awesome. It is so cool. I mean, there is just so much going on in this book and the series, and the world building in the future is pretty freaking crazy. The crazy thing about it, it's probably gonna happen. Now, before getting into all of that kind of stuff, let me just say, first off, right off the bat, that Image Comics is probably my favorite title when it comes to the comic book world, because they do really unique things such as this, because they're all creator owned. All of the writers own pretty much the rights to whatever they're writing, and so not everything has to be completely convoluted. And in this, Lazarus, the world that has been built, it doesn't have time for to be convoluted and to bring in other things, because there's just so much going on. So let's just not waste any time with this and hop right into it. Wealth is power, and that power rests now with only a handful of families. Could you imagine? Could you imagine some of the families? Bro, I know some families that would tear this world apart. The few who provide a service for their ruling family are cared for. All others are waste. That's kind of a rude term to call everybody else. In each family, there is one person given the best they can offer: training and technology and assets, every scientific advantage. Sounds like Game of Thrones modern day. This person is named their family's sword and shield, their protector, their Lazarus. So think of like a really alert security system, ADT with a vengeance. In the family Carlisle, the Lazarus is called Forever. This is the beginning of her story. As you can see, there's so much going on here, and there's a lot of thought that's been put into this. And how it was written, of course, it's a comic book, and it came out in single issues periodically. What's really cool about this is that the writers actually dove into current events now and use elements from that to use into the story and series that they were writing in Lazarus. And it's really cool. A lot of people mix this together with a dystopian type of futuristic Game of Thrones. Definitely kind of what it is, although I haven't really ever seen that show. I thought it was boring. I personally honestly think that this nails a lot of that kind of element when it comes to power struggle in the future, and I'm a huge fan when it comes to like a dystopian type based future where it's not only bleak, but it just flips what we know about this world on its head. That's definitely what happens here. And the cool thing about it is that it studies within the family, how they react, and with all the power that they have, how it kind of gets to their head, or even like survival mode, what they would be willing to do to secure that power for the future. Now, the artwork in this isn't vastly my favorite in the entire world, but I actually really think that it works for this story. It's really gritty, and it's rough, and that's exactly what this world is that they have built, the writers have built. And so I think very good correlation with the artist and the colorist with the writer, and what the vision is. Not my favorite in the world, but it does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it paints a picture saying that this world is a tough one. So Forever is the name of the Lazarus, the main character, who is essentially a robot, and she doesn't necessarily know that she's a robot. She doesn't necessarily know that she's not technically a member of the family. She just knows that she's supposed to protect them. And it was a little bit confusing because her name is Forever, and they would use it in a sentence, and I was like, why do they keep saying forever? But it's her name. It makes more sense as you go along, or I'm just super slow and just didn't pick up on it really quick. But I got it, and it was totally fine, and it was awesome because it dives into an interesting world. I've said it so many times before. I love world building. I love the complexness of what the writers are trying to accomplish, and they accomplish it extremely well because they understand the world around them now, today, and they're translating, I personally feel like, their feelings into what they're writing, because forever, the Lazarus, the main character of the story, she is starting to grow somewhat of a conscience, and she is sentient enough to know that some of the things that she's being asked to do are not necessarily right. So maybe technically in the future, this could possibly turn into something that clashes with the family's wishes. And it definitely turns a lot towards that. There's a lot of greed, there's a lot of backstabbing, and a lot of action. And that was one of my favorite things in this book, is that the way that they correlated all of the artists correlated all of the fight scenes, way cool. Like it was almost as if I could just see everything happening. Like literally I could see it on the page, but I could see everything that they wanted to accomplish and on a spectrum that was unique in itself, but very efficient. I thought it was awesome what they had done. I personally am not the biggest fan of like super strong language in the things that I read, but I get it. It's a sucky world, sucky life. Go ahead and swear. But like this book, honestly, it was very surprising for me because this is book one, but it actually acts more as a prelude to like everything that's going to come before this. Can't wait to dive into it. Honestly, this one is really high for me, but I got to give it 4 stars only because I want to see. I don't know what's going to happen next, and I know it's going to be awesome. Now, I mean, I might change that as it goes, but that's just how I feel. I rate things on how I feel as soon as I finish them. And I was really impressed with this book because it came out of nowhere. I just thought, hey, I'll pick this up. It looks cool, and it is a dystopian future, and that's kind of my thing. And I thought they nailed it. The cool thing about this is actually they dive so much deeper into political stuff than we realize in the story, because they have a lot of bonus stuff outside. Like they have like things written from the writers and everything, their inspirations and everything, but they do dive into history of the different families. It's really cool. If you want to dive into something that is like vast in scale of something like this, maybe something futuristic, but like political in itself, but not overly political to where it makes you feel uncomfortable. This is definitely for you. You got to check it out. Lazarus. Awesome stuff that Image is putting out. There's a bunch of books in this series. Go and check out this one for sure. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here today on Comic Relief here on Nerdy Blurb TV. I just want to take this time to shout out to our sponsors who sponsor this show and give us the comic books for us to be able to review for you guys, and that is Dragon's Keep. They are the #1 trusted store in all of Utah when it comes to comic books, and I go there all the time because I love it. And their friendly staff is so willing to help out and show you what that's how I got into comic books. I would go into their store and talk to them about it and be like, maybe one day I'll read it. And it was like, well, here, check this out. And they got me hooked, and here we are today talking to you guys on that internet. So go check out Dragon's Keep. If they've definitely got the selection for you. If they don't, they will get it for you at a reasonable price and a reasonable time. It's Dragon's Keep. Check them out. Now, on a serious note, this is the end of the video, but that doesn't mean that you can't go and check out the rest of the other stuff that we've got here on this channel. It's got a lot of nerdy stuff. If you're in the nerd culture life, this is the channel for you. Consider subscribing if you want to. We would love it. We would love you to be a part of what we got going on, and tell us what you'd like to see more on this show. If you have any recommendations for us, let us know. We'll read them and we'll talk about them here, and we'll let everybody know who told us. So thank you guys so much, and keep on reading.